Hey everybody, the next person I want to introduce, or the next clip I want to introduce from the Internet Marketing Summit at the Palms Hotel in Las Vegas would be Mr. David Schloss. Now Mr. David Schloss is a expert in Facebook ads and creating webinars and filling webinars from Facebook. So without any further ado, here's his talk that he gave at the Internet Marketing Summit in Las Vegas. Cheers.
First off, thank you all for being here. Really appreciate it. I know it took a lot of you, a lot of courage to get out of bed this morning. So I'm going to just go through how I fill every webinar I work on with registrants and attendees to their webinars with Facebook ads. Now, a lot of you know that I focus on Facebook. It's where I primarily focus all my attention on a day-to-day with my business. So I want to show you all exactly what I do for my clients and for myself in filling out their webinars. All right, so if you don't have a pen and paper, I suggest you get it right now. All right, so here's what I'm going to cover. So a lot of you who've previously seen me speak in Dublin, this is all going to be updated. It's all brand new. So everything here is going to be covering the exact steps that I take in order to fill a webinar. Everything from the ad creation, the copy, the type of pages we use, everything. All right, so I'm also going to show you the new ad format I'm using that's getting us cheaper registrants than a traditional banner, and it actually just requires standard pictures. So I'll show you how I go about doing that, and it's very easy to create. I'll also show you my scalable webinar process, so you guys can duplicate this whole thing and be able to do it yourself. How I use Instagram to retarget people, and tons of other stuff. So if you're looking to run webinars in your business, or if you're currently doing it but not implementing ads, then you'll be able to use this training and, well, be able to do it for your business. All right, so quick little thing about me. Started in marketing in 2007. I've had my business since then, started from my college apartment, basically because I needed to make money online, right? So first search in Google, how to make money online, dove into that world, and lo and behold, to this day, I've been doing anything from SEO to video marketing and now social advertising. So I focus on Facebook. I've also done ads on YouTube, Twitter, you name it. I've tried lots of networks, but Facebook's where I put my core focus every single day. I manage ads on anything from TV personalities to authors, speakers, and basically just take their business to their next level, whatever it is they envision to create. And so as of this morning, I've spent over $7 million on Facebook for clients, and it continues to grow by $750,000 a month. And so we're at a point now where we're testing everything that goes on in Facebook constantly. There's a new objective, there's a new ad format, something, we're testing it. And so I've been interviewed on this subject by multiple podcast, individuals, web shows, some of you in this room, and I appreciate that. And so we're going to continue to go through that process and show you everything that's being done. Now, just a little screenshot here. As you can see, I've run webinars that spend anything from $32,000 for one promotion to as little as $2,000, right? So this can be done for a smaller budget, it can be done for a large scale budget, and everything's done within a certain time frame, okay? So phase one of this entire process is essentially filling out those ads that you need to create in order to fill the webinar. So this is exactly what I'm going to walk you through of what I do for my clients and for myself. You will have to do this at least 2 to 3 times. Guaranteed. You're not going to get it right the first time. It's just like doing a launch for the first time. Some of you hit home runs, some of you strike out really bad. It's the same thing with ads. Okay, so you will have to do this a couple times over. And this process will save you money and headaches. A lot of people dive into ads, they have no idea what they're doing, blow through $5,000 and say Facebook doesn't work. It's because you didn't learn the process first. Okay, so we're going to go through that, and this does require practice. All right, so this is where everyone gets a little concerned because they see these numbers and they go, okay, I don't want to do that already. Because they're looking at the money you need to spend in order to make this work, okay? Now look, when you run a webinar promotion, you need at least 5 to 7 days, at least. Some of you have done it for 3 days, 4 days, that's fine. But what I see works for me and my clients is 5 to 7 days, okay? 5 days being the least. Reason for that being, you need to give Facebook time to optimize, okay? 7 days, I consider to be the complete optimization time frame. 5 days being more of like a starting at a higher budget, moving things forward, and then you can use your best judgment to make this work. Now, we typically spend at minimum $2,000 to $3,000 per webinar. So if you're testing this out, you can expect to spend 2,000, or let's just say 4,000 to 6,000 after a couple runs, maybe even a little bit more than that, because you want to fine tune the audiences, the creative, the copy, so on and so forth. And so 2 to 3 times, by the time you run that same webinar, you have enough data that supports whether or not the promotion you're running is going to be successful long-term, okay? Now consider this, when you're spending into the optimization phase, let's say you've done this 3 times, you have audiences that are dialed in, you know you're making money, you should be spending over $3,000 per promotion. And if you're running a webinar every single week, you know your metrics. If you put 3 in, you get 6 back. You put 3 in, you get 10 back. You get it. And so simply gathering data is the most important part of the webinar process. Everyone assumes that you do this one time, you crush it, and it's done. No, you do this over and over and over. You do it until the day you have a webinar that fails, or it fails a couple times. So you continue to run it during this exact amount that you're spending up here. Now consider this, cost per registration, which in internet marketing, a lot of people assume that spending $8 for a registration is expensive. It's not if you're selling something that's $1,000, right? But it is expensive if you're selling something that's $300, because then you're looking at, all right, $2,000 being spent, maybe get a couple hundred people to register, but then only 20% of those people show up. So you have a very small pool of individuals who might buy from you. But if you have a $1,000 product and you're spending $2,000 to $3,000 on a webinar, you only need 2 or 3 sales to break even. So it's really dependent on the value of your product. How much are you going to sell it for and over what time frame? If you have a $1,000 product or more, you should be spending at least $3,000 on your webinar promotions in the beginning. And just from experience, last week I ran a webinar where the product was $5,000. So the guy spent $5,000 on his first run, he made 5 sales, so he made $25K off his first run. Okay? When you have that high value of a course, you might as well sell it for that and use more money towards that promotion. Okay? Now, with attendance rate, because this is the most difficult part of the process, is getting people to show up. I'm sure a lot of you have run webinars and you see that 20% of your people show up, 15% show up, sometimes even less. So there's a whole process to that we'll go through later, but what I typically see when you're promoting to your list with this process is that at least 25 to 35% of those people show up. So for every 100, 25 to 35 will show up. That's the average. Doesn't work out for everyone, but over time, as you do this more and more, it gets better. Now, if you're doing this to a strictly cold audience, people who've never heard of you, you're just doing it through Facebook ads, and they have no idea what you do, how you've done it, or anything about your story, you typically see 15 to 25% show up. Sometimes worse. It's really just practice. Now, even if you have 15 to 25% of those people show up, once again, look at the value of your course. What are you selling? It's $1,000, $500. You have to understand your metrics. So the webinar funnel process. This is the exact format of pages we create when we go through testing of a webinar. So for registration pages, we typically create at least 2, the short form without a video and the long form without a video. We find that using videos on your registration page sometimes just turns people away. And so if you want to go ahead and test it, because in other niches outside of internet marketing, videos are cool. They want to see who you are. They want to get to know you. But in internet marketing, it seems like no one wants to have interaction. So don't put a video up on your registration page. They just want to see what you're going to deliver, and they leave their information. So we at least create 2 variations of the page, a long form and a short form page without the videos. Now, on the thank you page, you need to have this box up here, which is incredibly important. So everyone on the thank you page usually puts a nice video that says, hey, thank you for signing up, I appreciate it. You know, the webinar's on Thursday at 7 p.m. But everyone forgets to include SMS reminders. Now, SMS reminders typically get 15 to 20% more people to show up to your webinar. And all you need is a product called Call Loop. I know the CEO of the company is a great guy, he's been doing this for years. You can integrate this into ClickFunnels, you can integrate it in lead pages, and it's optional. So when people land on the thank you page, a box pops up and says, important, you're registered, you know, enter your number and you'll get a reminder. This helps when getting people onto your webinars. Okay, so make sure to integrate this into your process when you're delivering people to your webinar. Now, the other pages we create that most people completely leave out is retargeting specific people to a certain page. So for example, non-registrants, people who did not register. They just hit the registration page and they said, this isn't for me. we create a different page just for those people, where the page itself says, hey, we know you've seen this before, we want to show you something else. It's basically just another way to present the same offer, okay? And you're going to do this if you're doing a 7-day promotion cycle. By the 4th day, you should be able to start retargeting people to this page, right? Same thing goes for people who've already registered. You want to send them to a page that says, hey, don't forget the webinar is happening on Thursday. And you would be doing this for at least 24 hours. So right before the webinar, you're going to say, hey, by the way, webinar's on Thursday, don't forget. Here's the time, here's the link. You're just reminding people to show up. Now, when you do a replay, for those of you who like to do replay sequences, you want to make sure that you have text on the page that tells them what they're going to learn, okay? What are the benefits of watching this, why you need to watch it, so on and so forth, for compliance reasons. A lot of people make this mistake, they just promote a replay page, just a video, and say, all right, everyone who's in my custom audiences and my Facebook account, here you go. Well, you're breaking the terms of service. Facebook wants to see text on the page that explains what it is someone's going to learn in watching a video. And you can't have anything autoplay. So they have to be enticed to watch the video. And then lastly, which I'll show you on the next page, is a registration closed page. This is incredibly important because a lot of people forget that when an ad goes viral or it starts to be shared exponentially on Facebook, people still see your ads for webinars that are already closed out. So they don't create a proper page to collect leads or collect emails from people who missed out on something, right? So for example, this is an example of a reminder page, right? So someone is going to be jumping on the webinar the next day, you're going to be sending them to a page like this. It says, hey, don't forget, live workshop starts in X time. So at least 24 hours in advance. And you can give them the webinar details where they can just enter the ID and actually show up into the webinar without having to go through their email. It's just another way they can get on. Now outside of that, this is an example of a registration closed page. So this is what appears when the entire webinar is over. Okay, webinar's done, you've made your money, everyone's happy, but someone is still landing on this page because your ads are still being shared naturally. So when they click on this page, what happens? They see this, they're like, damn, I missed the webinar. Well, if you leave your email, we'll tell you about the next one. So you'd be surprised how many additional leads come in just from having a page like this set up. All right. Now for the not so sexy part of Facebook ads, legalese and compliance. Now, this is important to include on your registration pages. Actually, it's important to include throughout your whole funnel. Reason being, Facebook now actually views every page in your funnel. They may not initially, because Facebook has its own little process of accepting ads and letting them go through, and then sometimes 7 days later, your ads get denied for no reason. Well, the reason for that is because a manual review occurred, they went through your funnel, and they saw that you didn't have all the proper legal information. And because of that, you look like a spammer, you look like you're scamming people, and so they ask that you incorporate this type of information on your pages. So in the footer, in the very bottom of everything that you put up on Facebook, make sure you have at least this disclaimer. This is a unique way of just telling people like, hey, this has not been endorsed by Facebook. This is not a Facebook property. We're just promoting through Facebook. And you want to incorporate your copyright, your business name, and then links to your About Us and your terms and conditions. Like I said, not the sexiest thing to worry about, but this is incredibly important. I've had people spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on Facebook, forget to put this up, next thing you know their account's gone for something as stupid as this. So make sure to incorporate that on everything that you advertise when you're on Facebook. Now pixels. Pixels are the most complicated. A lot of people mess this up. They mess it up because it's the only technical part of the process outside of setting up ads that you have to worry about in order to track everything, right? A lot of people make the mistake of putting the wrong code in the pixel, and next thing you know, it says you have 1,000 registrations, you only have 200. It's because you set up something incorrectly. Now, I'm not going to show you how to install a pixel. Facebook has training for that. I don't have to worry about that. You can figure it out through the Facebook training. But there are certain pixels you need to have through your process of promoting your webinar to ensure that you have everything being tracked accordingly, you can retarget to the best of your ability, and make sure that people watch your webinar, right? So for example, on the registration page, you're just going to install the page view pixel. It's the original pixel. It's just the core thing that Facebook gives you when you're looking at your pixels in your account. Okay, you're just going to put that on your registration page. On the thank you page, you're going to put an event called complete registration. It's the same pixel, you're adding one line of code, and now it's tracking your registrants. Okay? This is what you're optimizing for. The more people that hit this page, the more you can optimize later. The pixel basically gets smarter the more that you run ads. So there are accounts, for example, that run advertising to lookalike audiences, custom audiences, and broad interest. Broad interest being just a standard key term, right? But then there are accounts that only run to lookalikes, or they don't even run to anything and they're just optimized for a pixel. That's because they've been running ads continuously and allowing the pixel to mature over time. And so you want to make sure that everything's installed properly, so down the road, you could spend $2,000 or $3,000 and average a lead for $2 per registrant, right? Now, this is optional, but a view content pixel would go on the replay page, and that just shows you, the people who've actually viewed your replay. So if you have 1,000 people in a custom audience and 200 hit the replay page, it could say, 200 people have viewed the replay. This is just an extra layer of targeting and also tracking, so you know that people have actually seen what it is you're delivering. The most disappointing part of the webinar process is you get 1,000 people to register and only 200 people see the webinar, right? So you might as well start delivering people to the replay. Now, two more pieces that are optional are the add to cart and the purchase pixel, only because they don't always work. And when you're running a webinar, people aren't going directly from a sign up to watching the webinar to purchasing. So you don't always get the most accurate data, but it's optional. So if you're running something that's evergreen, something where people can go through the whole process, watch the webinar, and eventually buy, you want to make sure you have these installed on the pages. Because then you can see for every dollar you spent, how much did it take to acquire a purchase. And so, now, you got all the technical stuff out the way. Okay? You've gotten the pixels installed, you understand what you need to spend, so we're going to dive into audience research. Now, this is what I consider to be the most important part. Because if you get your research wrong, you're delivering the wrong people to your webinar. So a lot of people assume that the audience insight tool is the only thing you can use in order to do your research for your webinars, and that's not entirely true. It's the first place you'll go, but it's not the only place you'll go. Now, when you're using audience insights, you want to make sure that in your account, you have your email list added into your account through custom audiences. If you've run any launches in the past, which a lot of you have, you should have had Facebook pixels installed throughout those funnels. And so you probably have website visitors, you probably have customer phone lists, you have all these different pieces of data that you need to integrate into your account. Okay, so make sure those are inside of your ad account prior to using the Audience Insight tool. But once you've done that, you're going to be able to look at everything from Facebook pages of your competitors to influencers in your niche, and maybe even a combination of both. So making sure that you have your initial buyer data, subscribers, so on and so forth in your account is important. But once you do that, the first place I actually go to do research is not Audience Insight. It's actually the Google Display Planner. So I use the Display Planner because it gives me options of keywords and topics and placements that people typically would go to when searching for specific terms. So if I go to Google and type in internet marketing, the possibility of seeing Ryan Dice pop up, whereas in Audience Insight, Ryan Dice pops up like that, he's usually the first topic when you type in internet marketing. In Google, he's not going to be first. It's going to be a completely different set of people, different set of websites, so on and so forth. So the Display Planner tool allows you to find YouTube audiences, mobile apps, anything relating to a topic that you're looking to advertise to, and then see if maybe Facebook has it available to target as well. All right? And then once you have that, you can use Audience Insights to dig deeper. So for example, so in the Audience Insight tool, now that Facebook's been updated for I don't know how many times in the last couple months, the way to find the Audience Insights is in the top left. You're going to click on Ads Manager, or in the little tiles in the top left, and it'll bring up this mega menu, and it'll say Audience Insights. So once you click that, it'll open up the tool for Audience Insights, where essentially this is where you're going to find everything, right? You're going to find the age group, the gender, what people are interested in, where they're located, what they like, what device they're using. This is basically the gold mine for you to dig through in order to find the ideal person for your offer. Okay? Spend a lot of time going through this tool, look at the data. No reason to spend money on a group of people. Let's say if you're targeting internet marketing, a large segment of those individuals are between 18 to 45, the majority. And a lot of people forget to target inside of that range. They'll target everything from 18 to 65 plus, and what you'll find is that maybe 45 to 54 is the most common when you're running your ads. You have to know these things along the way, otherwise you're spending money that is wasted. So analyzing this information in audience insights allows you to skip that process of wasted money. Now, the most important part, like I mentioned, is the custom audiences, making sure they're installed into your account. Then you can dig through, look at that data, or you can start punching in interests and seeing what comes up for that. So for example, let's say you want to look at the United States and you typed in things like Frank Kern, Mike Filsaime, Russell Brunson, Ryan Deiss, which are the standard 4 that everyone targets in internet marketing, okay? Which, by the way, if you're doing that, you're wasting money because everyone's doing it. And so what you see is that most of these people are between 18 to 44. That's the majority of the audience. And you got 12% of that within 45 to 54. But beyond that, you're basically just spending money for no reason. So you should at least be setting up your ads between the 18 to 54 range. But side note, in our space, anyone 24 and younger typically don't buy. So you're going to just start at 25 to 54. That's where you're going to start. And then work your way down the line. But this is just based on the interest that you plugged into the tool. So you type in something else like Social Media Examiner, Mashable, the audiences are completely different. Might be a younger group, might be an older group. You don't know until you plug in the information. So go back and forth, replace the terms, put in something else, see how the data comes back to you, and then create your plan of action from there. So once you've typed in the terms you want to target, in this example, Social Media Explorer, social media measurement, social media today, and social media week. Let's say I'm promoting a social media training. You click on page likes, and this is where you get to see all the different variations of people who not just like social media today, but also like these relevant pages, right? So you obviously see a lot of the same things you've already typed in because they're already relevant, but then you'll see things like Mashable trending, Mashable business, Moz, which is a software, Hootsuite, and it starts to give you more options of people who like Social Media Explorer or Social Media Today also like these pages. So you basically would type them into the interest section of the tool and see if they come up. And if they do, you just continue to compound this list of interest into a spreadsheet or a notepad, anything like that. This is important. You're going to spend more hours doing this than anything else. Setting up ads takes 30 minutes. This takes 4 hours. If you're just going to dig through the data, right? You can hire a VA to do this, trust me. You don't have to do it yourself. And so by doing this, you now have your targets. 50, 100, 25, doesn't matter. I like to start with 50 targets because I'm going to just go through it one by one until I find the best 10 or the best 15. Now, one thing not to overlook is the device usage. A lot of people assume that with Facebook being 80% of the people on mobile, that's where the majority of their opt-ins are going to come from. Well, that's true. But you also have to consider some of these people also have a desktop device and they use mobile phones or a tablet or something like that in conjunction with a desktop. So sometimes, and if you've used Facebook, you'll notice this, when you plug in something and say I want to target desktop and mobile, the reach of that audience can be far different than if you just targeted mobile or if you just targeted desktop. For some audiences, you got to run a combination, and for others, you got to segment. In the beginning, you're going to run it as a combo, and then later down the road, when you're doing some optimization, you're going to segment, and you're going to break it apart. So make sure you're digging through the device usage when you're putting in your interest so you can see exactly what device these people are using. In this example, there's no reason for me to target desktop only because 0.6% of this audience is desktop only. But it does make sense for me to go mobile only or desktop and mobile as a combination. Okay? If I just did desktop only, it'd be a waste of money. Okay, so this is why you have to make sure to dig through everything inside of Audience Insights. Now to go back to the display planner tool, this is just an example of what it looks like when you plug in either a website or a term. It brings back a group of results. And as you'll see, there's a section on the right side that says all placements. That's what you're looking for. And the reason you're looking for the placements is because Google's going to tell you all these websites and apps and YouTube channels that people are frequently viewing in order to consume the information that they're looking to consume. So you type in internet marketing. In this case, I was using Paleo as an example. So I took a website called paleoleak.com, and it brought back all these apps and sites and so on and so forth related to paleo diets. And what I then saw were these three columns. So these are all websites that if you just took the name of the site, went to the Audience Insight tool and started typing it in, some of these do come up as interest. And because these websites come up as interest, those are super passionate audiences of people to target, already consuming information on paleo diets. And this could be applied to anything: real estate, internet marketing, coaching, selling books, anything. Same thing goes with apps. There are tons of apps relating to paleo diets. This could, like I said, be applied to anything. And then over here you have the YouTube channels. So this is why it takes so much time. So using both tools, you start creating this master list of different targets to go after when you start running ads. Now, once again, you could use this data in the display planner tool to find how many people are searching for it on Google in comparison to people searching for it on Facebook. If you find that more people are searching on Google for things, let's say Joy Bauer comes up as a topic in Facebook to target, would you see that maybe only 30,000 people are being reached from Joy Bauer, but 50 to 100,000 are being reached on Google? It's up to you as to whether or not you feel that audience is going to be available on Facebook. In my case, I would say, all right, 30,000 people, I'll run it for a week and see what happens. But it's not going to be something you're going to run long term. The audience isn't big enough. But if you see that there's 100,000, 500,000, a million people, you're going to run it constantly because the audience is large enough to run. So for those of you who have trouble coming up with things to look up, here's a list of broad targets you could type in and create modifiers of different terms. You could search in Google or you could search in Facebook. So for example, one of the best targets that I typically go after is associations and foundations. And this is in niches outside of IM. Things like the Real Estate Investor Association or the National Real Estate Investors Association. Like, I do a lot of work in real estate, and associations are plentiful. So going after all these people who already do real estate investing has allowed me to just tap right into that audience just by going after associations immediately instead of guessing and going after just a term like real estate investing. Right? So you can use these as modifiers and come up with your own ways to target all sorts of people, whether it's through bestseller books, the authors of those books, events, festivals, clubs, forums, you name it. Okay, and this just gives you more opportunity to dig around and look for targets that maybe people never would have thought of. So if you decide that maybe doing all the broad targeting is not your thing, or you maybe want to expand upon that, you can actually create lookalike audiences from your email lists, your buyers lists, and a lot of you in here have big email lists and big buyers lists. This actually might be the place that you start first because you already have pre-existing data to use in order to make your ads successful from the get-go. So what I like to do is create a lookalike audience of email lists, your standard all email list, your buyers list, so people who bought a specific product. So if you have something that's video marketing, for example, and you have a buyers list of 5,000 people who all bought a video marketing product, you should load that into your account and create a lookalike from it. Because now you have a group of people, all similar, that might buy a video marketing product. And then from there, you're going to also create lookalikes of, webinar registration pages, people who visited a page before, or people who've actually registered, or people who've landed on your launch pages. The point is, this is just compounding upon what you've already done research-wise. But it's a shortcut. Lookalikes are more of a shortcut. It allows you to just create audiences with 2 million, 4 million, 10 million people, and just immediately start advertising to them without plugging in an interest. Okay? So if you have an email list or a buyers list, you are probably going to do this first. Now, the one thing I want to note is that you should be testing your lookalikes. They're just like regular audiences. You don't know if they work until you test them. So when you do that, I like to do what I call non-layered versus layered audiences. So non-layered being you're just going to plug in a lookalike and run it with no interest whatsoever. So you're just plugging in the lookalike and running ads directly to them. And then in other cases, you're going to put the lookalike there and then add an interest. So it could be, lookalike audience of your emails, plus they also like Frank Kern, or they also like Ryan Dice, or whatever it may be. Right? So make sure you're testing that. The next layer that you could try out is what's called Facebook admins versus a broad audience. So in Facebook, there's a behavior called Facebook admins, and it's just giving you the option to target people who already have a fan page on Facebook. So if I were going to be selling Facebook advertising course to all these people, I'd want to go after the people who have a fan page, because they're most likely the ones to run ads, right? Same thing can go for yours. If you have a course relating to advertising or anything like that, and it's best suited for people who are already fan page owners, you would want to add this layer to the targeting. All right, research is done. All the craziness is done. I mean, it actually gets even crazier from here, but you got all the research and everything out the way. Okay, so you've already picked out, let's just say 25 targets you want to go after. Okay, you have a list of 100, you found 25 that feel they're the best fit for whatever it is you're going to be promoting. When you are setting up a campaign, I consider it to be having scaling in mind when you're putting something together. If you're not going to run a campaign for 2-3 times over, 5 times over, you're not ready yet. But you must be prepared to run a webinar and scale it from there. So when I go through the process of setting up a campaign, if you guys don't understand the lingo, trust me, I'm going to break it down, so no worries. There are 2 main objectives that you want to focus on when you're creating a webinar. A website conversion ad and a clicks to website ad. So a website conversion ad essentially focuses on a registration, a lead, whatever the core thing it is that you're going to be targeting and tracking, whereas a clicks to website ad focuses on getting more people to your offer, more people clicking on an ad going straight to the page. Now, in the beginning, if you have a brand new account, clicks to website is best for you because you have no data. The pixel has no maturity to it. There's nothing for Facebook to go off of. So you need to run a clicks to website ad. If you're going to run website conversion, you've probably had an account for a while, you've run ads before, you've run webinar registration ads before, you've done this. So it allows you to skip the process of maturing the pixel and you can go right into getting conversions, okay? Now you need to determine a daily and or short and long-term budget. So if you're doing evergreen, you're going to decide, $50 a day, $20 a day, $100 a day. If you're doing a 5 to 7 day campaign, you're going to determine, am I going to spend $1,000 a day, $500 a day, and how quickly am I going to do that? Right. So when you're doing something like an evergreen campaign that never stops, you could start out much slower. You can spend $50 a day, try out a couple targets, and incrementally add more. When you're doing a 7 day campaign, you have to put everything out there, guns blazing, all hands on deck. You're just throwing everything against the wall and seeing what sticks, because you have no idea what's going to convert. And so you have to have that in mind before you deploy your ads. Because if you have a brand new account, you have to be okay with the campaign possibly failing. And if you have an account that's been seasoned or matured over time and has had pre-existing leads and registrations, a failure might come as more of a surprise. And so just keep that in mind. There's nothing wrong with having a failure once in a while. You learn from it and you improve. But with most new accounts, you will fail immediately because there's nothing for Facebook to go off of. Now with ads creation, I go a little crazy with it because I like to test a lot. Most people just need to start with 2 or 3 banners and you can run with that and have a good day. But if you really want to take your advertising to the next level, you need to have banners throughout the whole process. Everything from what I call the main offer all the way down to the retargeting, to the replay, everything. You have to have banners everywhere, okay? So for the main promo, the main offer, which is just getting people to register, you're gonna have 2 or 3 banners. And have a designer or someone on Fiverr, someone put them together, basically with your face or not, just telling people the 7 strategies I use to get more people in my webinars, and then it's your face, and you just get people to ideally click on the ad. It has to be something enticing and relevant to what it is you're going to promote. I typically don't put my face in the ads because I want to grab people's attention, and sometimes people's faces don't get attention, right? So you simply just want to put something there that's relevant. You're giving away a lead magnet, put up a picture of the cover of the lead magnet, and that's it. That's all you need to do, because people will read the headline and look at the graphic and determine whether or not they want to click it. Now, with the retargeting for non-registrants, it needs to be completely different ads from the main promotion, because you didn't get them the first time. So you got to show them something different, shock them a little bit, maybe put your face up. Maybe they didn't recognize your fan page the first time, but the minute you put up your page, or excuse me, they put up your face on that page, you're like, oh, I remember this guy, and they click on the ad, right? So it's just a pattern interrupt, showing them something different. Now, one of the things I've been targeting working on that's been working really, really well is retargeting with video to registrants as a reminder, right? So remember I talked about the reminder page? Well, for people who don't click over to the reminder page, Why not put a video together that reminds them like, hey, the webinar is taking place on Thursday or taking place on Wednesday. Make it 15, 20 seconds. Hey guys, David Schloss here, just a reminder, webinar's on Thursday, 7 p.m. Details in the comment section, looking forward to seeing you. Done. And views are costing less than a penny. You know, some of you in this room I've run video ad campaigns for, and they're dead cheap. So to be able to remind people to show up for something that you can make thousands upon thousands of dollars, and you put $10 into it, and everyone sees it, it makes sense to do it. Now you also want to have banners reminding people to go to the replay. So when someone is done with the webinar, everything's good to go, the replay's live, you want to have banners that direct people to the replay page that are different from the main promotion you had before. Same thing goes with a video reminding people that the replay's live. Same intention, 15, 20 seconds. Hey guys, replay's out. Just want to let you know, comments section has the link. Looking forward to seeing you there and hope you enjoy. Super simple. Instead of spending on click ads, you just put up a nice little video, costs you 1/10 the price, and the link is available. And it gets shared. So once again, resources, Fiverr, Upwork, Swipe.co is great for creative ideas. It's basically a database of ads that are being collected all the time. And just put this in use. Create one of each if you have to, just to get started. Create 2 of each. But once you put this into rotation, you'll see that it improves the amount of people seeing your webinars or even people showing up to the webinars. Now, no one's really seen this before because this is brand new and I've been testing it. This works with both high ticket and webinars. So if you're doing anything with high ticket, like a coaching program, honestly suggest this. These are 2 examples that I just tested for a client 3 days ago. Okay? And I also do this in IM, but this is for a fitness client. These are 2 videos that are slideshows. Now, for those of you who've ever been in Power Editor, you'll see that there's an option when you're creating your ads to create a slideshow. So what we do is we took 7 images, 7 men, 7 women. My clients had an ungodly amount of testimonials, so we just created a man version and a women version. But it was just testimonials. So you click the video and it shows 7 images, just rotates every 3 seconds, a new image with a testimonial. Marty went from a failed studio to 30K a month. Susan went from 0 to 22K in a month. This person made 90 leads in their first 3 days. Just testimonials. What happens? This is technically a video ad, but it's running as a website conversion ad. So my cost for my CPM is lower, my cost per click is lower, and I'm showing testimonials directly to people who want to achieve the same results. When we ran these ads for a high ticket funnel, the promotion is a $10,000 price point. You have to get someone on the phone and close them. We had 20 applications come in 3 days, when he typically only averages about 2 applications a day from changing up the ads to this format. When we applied it to a webinar, our cost per lead went from $6 to $3 from applying this methodology. It's the same thing as having banner ads, but we're turning them into a video. Okay?
Can I just ask that specifically, making the claims?
Yeah.
How does Facebook view ads that are making claims on income earners?
So they were okay with this because we're just showcasing what other people have done. We're not saying that they can do it too.
Oh, okay.
Now, this headline over here, I got away with. I was very lucky. The reason why is because there's another advertiser out there, I won't mention his name, but he does high ticket stuff. And he has an ad that says something like, I've created 9 millionaires with this ad, with my process. I'm like, okay, well, if he got away with it, then I'm gonna create one for my client. And he's actually created 48, fitness professionals who created an amazing business from his advice. So we created a variation of that and everything went through. Facebook originally, they would say that they look at the ads first and then the page second. I find that they look at the page first and the ad second. So as long as your page doesn't make unsubstantiated claims that you can't get away with, or you shouldn't be trying to get away with, then you're okay. Just put it up, here's what you're gonna get, sign up. In the ads, you have a little more leeway. You could put up things like this, I've created 48 6-figure earners and things like that, because you're not saying that they can do it, you're just saying what you've done for other people. And that's how you get away with it. All right, so if you plan on running webinars anytime soon, which I know you all will, these are the 2 types of ads I suggest. Actually, it's just one ad, but I created 2 different segments because the one with the woman is running to men and women, and it's converting best with both men and women. The one with the guy does not convert with women, but it converts with men. So we created 2 variations just to see what would happen. And it's doing exactly what I thought it would do. And so you want to make sure you have different variations just like you would with a traditional banner. Now, I'm not going to go through each line in the ad copy, but the point is this. When you're doing your registration page, you're actually going to use the components of that page to create your ad. There's no reason to recreate the wheel here. The headline of your registration page should be the headline of your ad. Some of the copy on your registration page should be the copy in your ad. There's no reason to rewrite it. If you want to test whether or not your registration page can get conversions, put it in your ad, because if people are clicking it and then registering, you know you have a solid foundation for a registration page. That's it. Now, if you want to use a format to create ad copy, you're basically just going to give people, the benefits and the features as to why they need to be there. If you want to create a story behind it, when I first started in marketing, I had $0. Like, if you want to do a whole story, that's great too. There's tons of other people who do that and it works well for them. I like to keep it simple. Just use elements from your registration page, put it up in the ad, see if people click. And if they do, you know your registration page is fine. Okay. Now, in the URL section, some people still have this ability, some don't. I used to be able to put click here to get your free download, click here to get whatever it is I was giving away, register for the training. In the last couple of weeks, some people have said that functionality's gone away. Now you have to put a URL in there. And so, take that with a grain of salt. Some people are having that problem and some aren't. I personally have not ran across it yet, but just be aware. Some of your ads might be denied only because you need to switch that one portion of the ad. So this is the most important part of the follow-up to get people to attend. It's just a 7-day sequence. You will need something a little more intricate in order to make this work, something like an infusion or an active campaign. Or an entreport, just something that allows you to create triggers. So this is a 7-day indoctrination sequence that many of my clients use in order to get people to show up. It just revolves around teasing people and giving them results. Teaser, case study, teaser, case study. Here's what we're going to learn. Here's a case study of someone who did it. Here's another thing we're going to learn. Here's a case study of someone who did it. All you're doing is reinforcing results and showing them that they can do it too. And so every day you're just interchanging. You're just going back and forth. And by doing that, you constantly remind them as to why they need to be there. Because some people will sign up on the first day and they'll get the whole sequence. Some people will sign up the day before and only get one. But the point is you're reminding them as to why they need to be there. On the last day, you're practically bugging them all day. Hey, 12 hours left, 6 hours left, 1 hour left, because you want to make sure they show up. So if they have that SMS reminder, they only get a 1 hour reminder, 30 minutes, and then webinars live. So having that full capability of reminding them to be there is what will increase your attendance rate. So like I mentioned, make sure you have something a little more technologically advanced to do this, because you need triggers in order to make it work. One of my clients just released Market Hero. That's his own internal system that he created. He's been releasing it. He said that it'll start to work with this sequence too, so when that's available to everyone, that might be something to test out as well. But typically I have clients who use Infusion or Active Campaign, and they've built this into their sequence. So when you're running your webinars, you have results, you've got things moving, you have this system down, you've done it a couple times, you can now make this go evergreen. Okay, you can continue to test, you can run $1,000 a day, $500 a day, whatever fits your budget for your company, but you can keep things running with this exact same process. Now, a lot of people love auto webinars. A lot of people come to me and just assume, let's go right into an auto webinar, but they've never tested the live webinar before. Well, if you use everything that I've gone through today, test it out, the whole thing live, you can now implement it with auto webinars. So you can rotate the registration page, 1 to 2 different variations, because you want to keep things fresh. You want people to believe that the promotion is new. So you're constantly rotating different registration pages, so that way it looks like something is, brand new offer, there's a new host, whatever it may be, you're just showing them multiple options. But you want to make sure you're excluding anyone who has seen your ads or have registered, because you don't want them to be bombarded with stuff that they've already seen. Okay? So this keeps things fresh, keeps things in front of new people. And so when you do this, you're going to rotate ads every 3 or 4 weeks. That's if the optimization has begun, because they will hit banner blindness. With those video ads I just showed you, those will probably die out in a couple weeks. In the fitness space, they'll probably stay around for about 3 or 4 months. In the IM space, 2 to 3 weeks. In IM, people retain this stuff. They know the ads they see. They don't typically take the next step after a week or 2. If they've seen something long enough, they don't care anymore. right? So you have to keep things fresh. And so by doing that, you can create new forms of optimization. You know, this image with this woman did well, this one with this guy did well, and you could just keep rotating them and just have your best performing ads all the time. Now, one of the things that I'm testing are different ad types, like carousel ads with different webinars integrated with the carousels. I've been testing this for months now, and it's still a refining process, but imagine having a carousel ad with 3 different webinars integrated into the ad. Depending on which image you click is a different webinar, so it's a different topic, right? So when you get to that point of having multiple products, multiple things that all go to the same people, you're gonna constantly be rotating offers instead of rotating ads. And so that way you're just presenting something new in different price points. Also sending people who didn't buy but they registered, you send them to a 72-hour promotion page, just like how some of you do it for your launches. You would send them straight to the sales page and just say, hey, this promotion is closing down in 72 hours. This is a special offer for you since you didn't buy live. This is your last chance. And you run it from Friday to Sunday. And it's the last chance they see the offer. And then you make sure to exclude them from future promotions. Now with the first one up on the screen, only reason why I didn't expand on it too much is because it's very, very detailed. But basically, you can create custom audiences of 7 days and 14 days and 21 days and really just segment out who sees your stuff, how often they see it, and just cutting out the people who never actually took an action. Now, here's the thing that most people don't use when they're promoting their webinars, which is Instagram. Now, in internet marketing, Instagram is still very new. Obviously people like Luke have really taken Instagram to the next level and shown people the power of Instagram. But when it comes to webinars, it can be tricky because you don't expect someone to click on an Instagram ad and go sign up for a webinar. Well, that's not my intention. My intention is to remind people that the webinar is taking place, and I want to hit them in multiple locations. And because Instagram is already integrated, you just put a little bit of a budget towards that, remind people that the webinar is taking place, and it's specifically for registrants. So I'm not trying to get new people. If new people see it, great. But it's really just to remind you your webinar's coming up. And so we do things like add hashtags so that if someone shares it or someone decides to comment, if they click on the hashtags, they see a bunch of other stuff. And also from other people around Instagram, if they go through the hashtag and look at the history, our ad might come up and you never know, they might click it and decide to take the next step. But the point is, this is really just to keep things fresh, tell a story, remind people webinars coming up, nothing else. We haven't quite cracked the code yet on getting registrants directly from Instagram, but this is great for reminders. And so if you're looking to keep things behind the scenes, show people what you're doing, show them why you're awesome, you would use Instagram. This is the place you would be. And so with that in mind, I just want you all to remember this, okay? It's a lot of stuff that I showed you today. You're gonna have to do this over and over to get it right. I didn't get this done in a week. This was years of testing, different processes. I mean, I refined this whole process just a couple months ago. Again, just having to add new elements to make this work. And so expect yourself to practice quite a bit. A couple of runs, 2 to 3 runs, you'll get this right. And as you go through it, you'll see a difference in your performance of not just your webinars, but your business. So if you're looking to add 6 figures to your business, I would honestly suggest integrating webinars for sure. And so I appreciate all of you for listening to me go on about webinars for the last, an hour. I appreciate it.
Give it up for Schloss.